Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today, fountain pen focus, and we're focusing on this. This is the Majohn or the Moonman T5. It's a beautiful purple colour, this. Really love the colouring and the material this is made of. Join me now down on the mat. We'll take a look at the pen, do some size comparisons, some weights and measures, a writing sample. Then I'll give you my thoughts and some scores on this pen. Welcome down to the mat. Here we've got the Majohn T5. Let's just take a quick look around. I love these explosions of bright purple that are coming through. We've got one there now coming through on the cap. Really pretty. Let's start by taking a look through the body. Top of the cap, we've got a plastic dome. Comes to a little bit of a point there. It starts by tapering down really quickly. Then we've got a slight taper down till we get to this silver ring here, which is what the clip's attached to. The clip, it's got a bulb on the bottom and it's nice and springy. It's hard for me to get it because I'm coming in from an awkward angle. The actual cap itself is tapering out until I think it gets to the bottom of the clip. Then it goes the same width down to this metal ring. Just going to show you here again on the cap. Got this gorgeous, it is like an explosion of purple. The ring at the bottom, we've got Majohn, and that's all that's written on there. And that goes down to the bottom of the cap. There's a tapering down from the ring. It's noticeable, but that's because I'm looking for it. At the bottom of that taper, there is a teeny tiny drop off down to the body. Again, if it wasn't for the fact I was looking for it, I wouldn't notice it. The body then, to my eye, is already tapering in from the start, tapering, and then we get a steeper taper. We get about maybe 2/3 of the way down. And that goes down to another silver coloured ring. And then we've got the blind cap. This is for working the piston mechanism. It's a piston pen. Again, I'm just going to go around there, the body. Just look at that beautiful explosion. And the dark colour, on the camera, it looks like it's black. It's not. It's a very dark purple. Really nice. I really like the look of it. Let's take the cap off. So we go half, 1, 1.5, 2, just under 2.5 turns to take the cap off this pen. Now the first thing we see is an ink window. Nice ink window. I'd like it to have been a little bit bigger, but I'm really picky. Double the size would have been perfect, but maybe even half the size again would have been ideal for me. But it's still usable. I mean, it's hard to show at the moment. There's a lot of ink in this pen. We then come down to the black section, and that gives us access there to the nib. The nib, it's a standard Moonman nib. So we've got a nice decoration. Got the word Moonman. We've got a V. Below that, we've got an M. This is a medium nib. It's one of the few Moonman pens that I've found that come with a medium nib. And to be honest, it's one of the reasons which drove me to buy this. But after using it, wow, it's so nice. Got a plastic feed there on the back. The nib, we then come into the section. The section has got a noticeable lip down here on the bottom. Sharply comes in, then the section tapers out till we get to the threads. I find this section nice and comfortable. I really like this pen. I use it unposted. Unposted is fine. Will it post? Yes, it will. It posts just below that cap, so I don't think there's a big chance of actually triggering the mechanism. But to me, when it's posted, it feels very heavy. It feels very long. But my preference is using pens unposted anyway. But it's an option. You should always have the options, and it's nice to know it's there. Let's swap over the view, and we'll do some size comparisons. First, we've got our standard size comparisons. So we've got a Pilot Metropolitan and a Lamy Safari. to be honest, in terms of length, I can't see much difference. The Metropolitan, though, width-wise, a lot narrower. And I would actually say the Safari, again, is a little bit narrower. Let's take the caps off and look at these unposted. Unposted, the Metropolitan, yeah, that's now a little bit shorter. Whereas the Safari and the T5, I've got to be honest, about the same size again. Big difference here, though, is the nib. If I line the bottoms of the section as opposed to the bottoms of the nib, the Metropolitan and the T5 now about the same, and the Safari is the longest. Let's take a look at these posted. With the pens posted, the T5 now takes the lead, definitely longer than the other two. But again, that's when I'm lining up by the bottom of the nib. If I line up by the bottom of the section, the Safari and the T5 then become roughly the same size. Let's switch the view and fetch in the rule of measuring. Here's the rule of measuring. Let's fetch in the pen. So with the cap on, that comes in at 13.9 centimetres. Uncapped, we're looking about 13 centimetres. Posted, about 17 centimetres. The width of the body, here at its widest part, that's 1.4 centimetres. The width of the cap, again at the widest part, 1.49 centimetres. The section, that goes from 1 centimetre at the narrowest up to 1.17, which is up here near the threads. So a nice sized pen. Sometimes that section does feel a little bit narrow. It's not, it's actually quite nice. Let's get this out of the way and we'll fetch in the scales of weighing. Here's the scales of weighing. The full pen, 33 grams. Cap alone, 13 grams. The body, 20, can't quite decide there, 21 grams. I think this is a nice weight for this pen. It feels nice. I know I've got it in my hand. It doesn't feel uncomfortable though. It feels like an extension of my hand when I'm writing. Let's move this out of the way and we'll fetch in the notepad of testing. Now, before I fetch in the notepad of testing, I've just realised I was getting really excited. I did size comparisons with my standards, but not with pens in roughly the same price range. So here we've got two pens in the same price range. We've got a Wingsun 601, 27 Australian dollars. We've got a Fountain Pen Revolution Darjeeling, 30 Australian dollars. The T5, it cost me 27 Australian dollars, so roughly the same price range. Let's take a look at these unposted. Unposted, the 601, we can see it's got an ink window because it's a piston filler, but it's got a hooded nib. The Fountain Pen Revolution and the T5 both got number 6 size nibs. The Fountain Pen Revolution one, that's a cartridge converter. Let's quickly post these. Here we are with the pens posted. The T5, as we saw with the standards, it is slightly longer. So now that I've remembered to fetch those in, it's time to fetch in the notepad of testing. Here's a notepad of testing. Let's do some writing. So we've got here a Majohn T5. Nice, easy name to write, that one. It's got that medium nib. Love the nib on this. As I've already said, this cost me 27 Australian dollars. Now the ink, I'm going to refer to my notes to make sure I spell this right. It's by Diamine. I've got no problems with spelling Diamine. Where I struggle though is the ink name. This is Monboddos Hat. Why I say I struggle with this, I always want to call it Monboddos. I don't know why. I'm forever getting my D's and my B's mixed up on this one. I struggle with it all the time. Let's take a look at drying times. So we've got immediate. Drying fairly quick. This is Ayush paper. and it does have some texture to it. I will also say it's very hot today. It's currently, sneak peek, you'll know when I'm recording this, it's currently 32 degrees. And you can see that's 10 o'clock in the morning. Very warm. And I do find that does affect the drying times. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. Yeah, dry there at 30 seconds. I was expecting that though. As I say, it is warm. This paper is a little bit absorbent. It's got a nice texture to it. But I really like this paper. If you haven't tried out Ayush paper, I really recommend you give it a go. Anyway, back to the tests. We'll write a sentence. Before we write the sentence, though, I was jumping ahead. I'm really having a bad time today. I'm going to move the mic. I will be honest with you, I like the way that this writes. It's got a real nice amount of feedback to it. It's not harsh, it's not soft or bouncy. You can just feel it. You know, it's certainly not pencil-like, but it's still enjoyable. Is there any line variation? So this is no pressure. If I add some pressure, I'm not sure if the line's wider or if it's just because it's putting down more ink. So no pressure, with pressure, none, with, none, and with. You know, the line going across, very similar. Flow test. Does have the page really well. It's an A4 page, so flow, absolutely no problem. So what are my thoughts and scores for the Majohn T5? I'm going to start with pen looks. I love the looks of this. You might have already been able to tell that. I like the darkness. It's a pen you could take to a professional setting, no problem. But then we get these hints of purple that fetch some character, some life into the pen. I think it looks really nice. You know, I think the whole thing's nice. I've already commented I would have liked to have seen that ink window slightly wider, but in the scheme of things, very, very minor. Pen looks, I'm going to give it 9 out of 10. Build quality, had this pen now just under a year. I've had no issues with it. This is the 4th fill of ink. It does take a lot of ink. It's a piston filler. I don't like throwing ink out, so I always write it out when I'm using it. With the purple, I've got a number of purple inks, so I can get a really good colour match with this. Not sure if I'd ever try using any other colour because I do find the purple inks look quite nice. The cap comes on and off with ease. Doesn't feel like it's catching, there's no jamming. The piston mechanism aren't going to work it, obviously. Nice and smooth. You know, everything seems just nice. So for build quality, you know, it's a good solid 8 out of 10. Writing experience. As we saw here, it writes really nicely. I'm going to fetch in my 52 GSM Tomoe River notebook. This is by Gale & Leather. So we've got here Majohn T5. You can see on here the ink is a lot more purple. Where it's, yes, it's definitely purple on the Ayush paper, but it looks a little bit darker. To me, I see more of the purple colour here on the Tomoe River paper. You know, the ink, you know, I'm saying here it's a bit flat. You know, it is. It's what I expect, so it's not a shock. I actually like the combo on here. Again, line variation, we see there's not a lot. Wetness. So what I've done here, obviously I've done my hash, but then I do going up and down and then smudge, and then I go going across and smudge, just to get an idea about wetness. And flow again, which we've already seen. Really nice ink, flows really well, had no issues with it. Nice to write with, As you heard, a nice little bit of feedback, not overly there, really enjoyable. So for writing experience, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Ink flow, I've said, I don't know how many times I can say this. It's nice. It's consistent. One thing I will say is I've noticed on Rhodia paper that I get skipping, but not on any other papers. So I think it's something to do with the coating on the Rhodia paper. For ink flow, 8 out of 10. Comfort, fits really nicely into my hand unposted. My preference is to use pens unposted, so that's fine. Is postable, feels a bit heavy, feels a bit long, but I don't use it that way anyway. The section, it's nice. I would have liked maybe 0.1 of a millimetre, just a teeny tiny amount a bit wider would have been perfect. But doesn't really matter, it's nice. I've used this for note taking where I've been in a 2-hour meeting. No problems taking notes throughout the whole meeting. I don't feel like my finger digs in or anything. Really nice. So I'm going to give that for comfort a 9 out of 10. Value for money, $27. Not the cheapest pen you can get. Not even the cheapest piston filler you can get. Looks nice though, doesn't it? I paid $27. Prices, obviously, they're going up. So I think if you were to buy it now, you'd pay more than $27. It is a pen that eventually I intend to get more of. There are 4 different colours. I've only got the purple. And I do intend to get the other colours. What I want to do first, and I haven't tried yet, is see how easy it is to swap the nib. Because I don't want 4 pens with the exact same nib and the exact same feel. I'd like to be able to swap the nibs, maybe put a cursive italic nib in or an architect, just something different in the other colours, just so I can differentiate between them. Because otherwise, I could put blue ink in here, still get away with it. It's a solid pen though. It's a nice writing experience. $27. It's up there at the top end of that starter price range, but it's a Chinese pen. That's a lot of money for a Chinese pen. I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. So that means the total score for the Majohn T5 with Diamine Monboddos Hat is 8.5 out of 10. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Have you got a Majohn T5? What are your thoughts on it? What colour have you got? I've really enjoyed using this pen. I think it's really nice to write with. Please drop any comments that you have down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.